good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of Tube. Hope today, hope you're feeling grand and all's going well. Hello there, everybody. Back to another A&Q Wednesday. Get it the right way round, David. Anyway, yeah, hi. He's full of weird noises this morning. Anyway, it's still too early. Anyway, moving along. Moving swiftly along. Moving stupidly along. Anyway, enough Rick Mail quotes. Okay, so question one today. It's never enough Rick Mail quotes. Question one. Shut up. Get on with it. Where am I? Question one is, what do you think about virtual amp simulators, and would you personally ever be able to switch to a full digital setup? I've never really tried any digital amps. It's not something that interests me. Well, computer amps. Obviously, my Boss Katana's digital, but it's a physical thing. The Katana is an actual amp. You know what I mean? It's not like a computer program, so to say. It's actually a thing. And it functions like a guitar. Virtual amp simulators. I've never tried. I've never been interested. Do I like the idea of them? Not particularly. I don't like. It's like the Helix. I don't like playing the Helix through a powered monitor. I'm going to do a video soon, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I'm going to do a video with the Helix soon. I'm waiting for the weather to be good. But we are going to try something with the Helix. But I don't really like them. I mean, I like the Helix when I run it through an amp. But then it's just the HX. If that makes any sense whatsoever, it's just a HX with an expression pedal. So you might as well just get a wah pedal and a HX. But digital amp simulators, I've never really tried enough to kind of know. I've heard people play on them, and I've watched people on YouTube demoing them, and they sound great. Pete Thorne, I swear he did something like that. I know he uses IRs all the time. Pete Thorne does. Pete Thorne, I don't know how he makes his stuff sound that good. The man's a demon. I don't know how he does it, but I'm super. I love Pete. He's amazing. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say. I would never say never to it. You know what I mean? I'd like to try it, but I don't really like the idea of it. But that might change if I tried it enough, if that makes any sense. But I don't like playing through full range speakers, and particularly, studio monitors. I mean, I do that when I record, but it's only for recording purposes. Live, I think I can't. I could see myself using digital amp modeling for recording, but I could never ever use it live. I don't think I would like it live. I like the idea of having things behind me. And by the way, everybody, yes, you'll see that more on Friday. Yeah, I've never really kind of like. I don't think I'd like the idea of that live, like an Axe Effects or something like that. I don't know. I don't know though. I don't know. I'm not ruling anything out. All I'm doing is going off my opinion at this point in time, but that is subject to change with experience, obviously, which I don't have in the field of kind of digital modelling amps and stuff like that, because it's not something that interests me, really, to be honest with you. So I've not really pursued it. So because I haven't pursued it, I've got no experience in it. So what do I think about them? At this point in time, I'm not interested. I don't really like the idea of them, to be perfectly honest. It doesn't really appeal to me in any way, shape or form. But in the future, if somebody said, "Oh, do you want to try this out?" I would give it a go. I mean, the thing is, if it's anything to do with music, I'm always happy to try it. You know what I mean? I always want to try anything new. But other than using it, I can see its ups. It's positives for recording, definitely, because it's like, you can literally have any, if it's a good simulation of like an old amp, say like a Plexi or a Vox or an old Fender or whatever, if it's a really good representation and model of that amp, I can totally understand why you would use that. Like, I can totally understand why you'd use that. But for live, I don't know. I don't know. They just weird me out. It just weirds me out a bit. But again, that could be being a bit of an amp purist, if you will. I like to have an amp on stage, which you can do. With digital modeling, you can get a power. You can get a power amp and have a cab on stage, and have the same thing. Billy Howardell of Perfect Circle, his clean tones are all Axe effects. Devin Townsend doesn't use, as far as I know, he doesn't use valve amps anymore, tube amps. I think he just uses. I think he uses Kemper and Axe effects. He's used Axe effects for ages, but he always paired the Axe effects with like a triple rectifier, which is the amp that the triple rectifier is the amp that I associate with Devin Townsend's tone. That was a good one. It's that real high kind of modern gain heavy sound that comes from a Mesa Boogie. That's that sound to me. But his sound. I mean, I'm watching some footage of him recently and stuff like. Well, not recently, last year from the Empath tour, and it's like, oh my god. I watched him doing Deadhead and stuff like that, and because Deadhead's my favourite song, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I just think that all that is just that's probably just an Axe effects and a Kemper into the PA. There's no kind of there's no amp there. It's just all digital, and it sounds so good and it's consistent, and that really appeals to me. I like consistency, but I use solid state amps anyway, so and I always have really. I mean, apart from the period where I used my Plexi, and before that, the JCM 800. I've always used solid state, so the idea of consistency of digital modelling really appeals to me. You can have a Plexi guitar tone without worrying about crapping out or starting to sound rubbish because the power's differed. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, what do I think about them? At this point in time, I'm not really into it. I'm not really interested in virtual amp simulators at all. It doesn't appeal to me, but it's something I would like to look into in the future, maybe if I ever get the desire to want to do it, because I don't have the desire to do it at this point in time at all. So as a result, I'm not bothered by it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But another part of your question was, would you personally ever be able to switch to an all digital rig? To that one, I'd say definitely. Yeah, I mean the thing is, I did the last 2 years gigging. Last 2 years? Well, last year and a bit. No, it can't have been that even. Well, I've been using the Boss Katana live since I got it. I was using the 50 first, and then when I got the 100, I was using the 100 live because knackered my back from carrying these things around all my life. But I've been using the Katana, so that's technically a digital amp. And then I switched from my pedal board to the Line 6 HX pedal board. Again, just for ease of use and smaller stage space taking up, and the HX does everything I want it to do. The Katana does everything I want it to do. So that's technically a full digital rig, because I've got a digital pedal board and I've got a digital amp. The only thing that wasn't digital was my Vox Wah-Wah. And so yeah, I mean, will I switch to a digital rig? Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I would like to try a Kemper and I would like to try an Axe effects, and I would really, but way beyond my price range. I think I'm way beyond quite a lot of people's price range as well. They're really expensive things. But I would never rule out a digital rig. I think it's, if you're a travelling musician, if you're touring, which seems like a thing from so long ago now, and who knows if it'll ever come back, apart from for big acts. If you're a touring musician, I would be so much more interested in going to a gig with a digital setup than, if it was long distance, than and you're funding it yourself, than a full-blown kind of amp rig, because it's less cost, it's reliable, it's consistent, and all you have to do is plug it in, you know what I mean? And it's just simple and easy. I mean, like the Helix. The idea of the Helix, just plugging into a PA, you just turn up with the board, and then you just get it fed through monitors or in-ear monitors. That is massively appealing to me, because I like the idea of it. But I have to have something on stage. It's like, I remember Jerry Control talking When they switched to ISO cabs, Alice in Chains, when they switched to just using 412s in boxes and no amps on stage, because if you look at Alice in Chains now, there's no amps on stage. Jerry said it took such a long time to adjust to the fact that there's nothing on the stage. There's no air moving. It's just a totally quiet stage. And and he said it was weird, because he's not used to that. Used to having big loud Marshalls or Bogners or, Marshalls, because Jerry always used to use Marshall cabs. But never really used Marshall amps, apart from the saying that the Marshall in facelift was a modded Marshall. It was a Bogner modded Marshall, so it's probably more Bogner than it was Marshall. But he said it was weird not to have anything behind, but he said eventually you do kind of get used to it, and but he didn't really get used to it because he has two 2x12 cabinets, EVH cabs facing him, so he can get feedback and stuff. So just to get the idea of movement. So I think I would be the same. I think I would have to have a cab on stage, and it'd have to be loud. I have to feel it. I was talking to my dad about this yesterday. It's like when I play live, I want to feel my amp doing something. I don't like the idea of nothing being there. It kind of freaks me out a bit. And So would I personally ever consider switching to a digital rig? Yeah, definitely. I mean, technically I have. I mean, if I was to gig tomorrow, it would be my Boss Katana 100 and the Line 6 HX and the Vox Wah. That proved itself last year and the year before, time and time again, of how much I adored that thing. I used it for the Trio a few times. I used it for Dukes all the time. It was my Dukes Deluder pedal board, the Line 6 HX. Any live footage from the last year and a half of Dukes Deluder is all Line 6 HX and Boss Katana. I didn't use anything else. I just didn't feel the need at all. It just worked. And the sounds I got out of it, I loved so much and still do love so much. And the Line 6 HX to me is that pedal that if it ever dies, I would buy another one. And when that dies, I buy another one. And when that dies, I buy another one. Because I'm just in love with it. Same thing with Katana, same thing with Marshall MG, same thing with the CR120. All these things, I love them because they work, work for me. But anyway, I'm tangenting again now. Come back, Dave. So switch to an all digital rig. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I technically have with the Katana and this, that, and that. And the HX, but yeah, the idea of amp modelling the live though still freaks me out a bit. I don't like the idea of having no amp. You know what I mean? Just like a laptop freaks me out because I don't like computers. I hate computers. I don't trust them. So to put my entire amp rig in the hands of a computer, not for me. Not for me. Anyway, so I hope that's answered your question. Going to move on to question 2 now. So question 2 is. You said a guitar should speak to you when you play it, and I agree with this, but how can you do this with a guitar that you've never played coming from Master Nick Oswald? It's simply trust. I trust Nick to make awesome guitars, and he never fails in that. Every guitar I've ever tried of Nick's just... Yes, some speak more than others. The Red Strat, for instance. I would say the two Oswalds that I've got that speak to me the most are my first ever Oswald, the 50s inspired John Frusciante one, and the red one. And the red one being the highest one that speaks to me. And the thing is, it's like I asked for I asked for the specs on all them. You know what I mean? The Telecaster is my spec, and the neck is a copy of my white Strat. The John Frusciante one is a copy of my 62 Strat. The Red Strat is a copy of somebody else's Fiesta Red Strat that got sent to me first, and then it went back to Nick and then went on to its owner. But that's a copy of that. And the first ever Oswald is basically just again, my specs of what I wanted for a 50s style Strat, ash body, maple neck, is what it is. So, and again, this comes down to your next part of question 2, which was, would you say you have to go by testing other guitars to build up your own spec of what you want? Exactly. Yeah, this is the thing. This is why when I said I ain't got one down here. When I said to Nick, like, can you build this for me? And he goes, oh, what specs do you want? And I give him the specs. I know he can nail those specs. You know what I mean? So I know for a fact of when that guitar comes, it'll be exactly what I want and exactly what I asked for because the man's a genius. And he's never failed. Every guitar I've tried, and also trying other people's Oswalds, I'm just like, oh my God, Nick. You know, this is ridiculous. So, yeah, and sometimes, yeah, the guitar should speak to you. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do get guitars and you're just like, nope, this isn't working out for me. But it comes down to this, and this is really key with anything music related, I feel, is you need to know what you want out of it. If you get a guitar, you need to know what you want out of it. If you get an amp, you need to know what you want out of it. And if you get a pedal, you need to know what you want out of it. You know what I mean? You don't want to be kind of like going, oh, should I get this or should I get that? I think you really need to be set on what you want. You know, you really need to know, and you really need to have experienced it. Not read about it, you need to have experienced it. Miyamoto Musashi talks about this really loads in his book of the Five Rings. He's talking about fighting, obviously, like, you know, and also kind of doing all sorts of other things. But he said you should experience this. You should test this thoroughly. And basically, what he means is when he's talking about engaging in a fight with 50 men, and you're on your own, and you're engaging in a sword fight with these 50 men. He means when he tells you all these things of, like, you know, get the sun behind you, you know, and run them around. Run them around so they, you know, so they bunch up and they fall over each other. That's another story altogether. He actually did this. But he says at the end of each chapter of this, of when he explains of how to do this, that, and the other, he says you should test this thoroughly. He means go out and pick a fight. He means go out and test it. Pick a fight with 50 men and see if you can win. Put it into practical use. Instead of just kind of like reading about it and going, oh yes, I understand that from a theoretical level. You have to use it practically. And this is the key with anything music related. You know, you have to know what you want. When you plug into something, or you play something, or you're setting up a pedal, or whatever, you need to know what you want out of it. So if you're plugging into a Vox amp, or a Fender amp, or a Marshall amp, or whatever, or whatever amp it is, you need to know what you want out of it from the start. You can't just turn up to me and go, oh, I'll just play around with it and see what it does. I don't believe that's a really conducive way to making music. I think that just kind of leads you down the rabbit hole of tweaking and just kind of like, you know, messing around going, oh, that's a good sound. And the thing is, the problem is, if it's a good amp, everything you do to that amp will sound good. You know, it's like this thing here, and that thing there, and that thing there, and this thing here, and those Boss Katanas over there, and that Marshall JTM 60 over there, and the Marshall AS50R over there. They're all good amps, and no matter what you do with them, they sound great. So the problem is, where do you start? So that's when you need to go, right, what do I want? I want a nice, rich, warm overdrive sound. Okay, so how do I get that? Or I want a really cutting, severe kind of metal tone, or I want a really nice, glassy, clean tone, or a warm, jazzy tone. And then you go for that, and you stick to it like glue, and you do not digress. You know, because it can just lead you down the rabbit hole, and that's a rabbit hole that I don't believe is particularly rewarding for musicians. I think it's a really kind of, it can be a bad thing. Option paralysis is not a good thing. You know, when you've got so much option, it's not a good thing. You need to know what you want. It was like the other day when I was programming the Katana and kind of like, you know, messing with the Tone Studio and failing at messing with the Tone Studio. I knew what I wanted though. I wanted a Univibe, I wanted a longer delay, and I wanted a bigger reverb than came stock with the Katana. And doing my kind of dodgy faffing thing and crashing the app by saving it manually on top of the amp, I was able to achieve that. But if you go in the Tone Studio, there are a million effects that you could try out. I didn't want to try all them out. I knew what I wanted. And as a result, you know, the Katana's set up exactly how I want it now. You know what I mean? It works, you know. Would it be nice if the Tone Studio worked so I could play with it more? Yes, but at the end of the day, I've got it set up how I want it. You know, I've got the Univibe, I've got the longer delay, and I've got the bigger reverb, and you know, and it does what I need to do, especially with the K switch. You know, it all works. So you need to know what you want. So coming back to guitars, a guitar will speak to you if you know what you want. Like, for instance, I said to Nick when the Telecaster, for instance, I knew what I wanted for the Telecaster, the Oswald Telecaster. I was like, I want the Strat contours, I want its Strat thickness, and I want a copy of the white Strat's neck because I knew that would fit in my hand comfortably. And me loving Telecasters and always having problems with them, I knew this would work because I've tried Telecasters with contours and I've tried Les Pauls with contours and I've always preferred them. But I don't like the way they look because they don't look like that, if that makes any sense. And so when that Telecaster arrived, it just was, it was perfect. And the same thing with the red one and the John Frusciante one and, the first ever Oswald. They all, because I knew what I wanted and I was able to tell Nick exactly what I wanted, he was able to build exactly that. And so there was no doubt in my mind when I got it, the guitar would speak to me because I know what I want, if that makes any sense. And I think that's really key. It's like if somebody comes to you and says, oh, what do you want out of this amp, or what do you want sound-wise or out of this pedal? And you're like, oh, I don't really know. It's like, you can just go round and round and round and round. But if you go, oh, I know what I want out of that, I want this, I reckon it's really good. And again, it just takes the faff out of things. It just makes things so much quicker, easier, and just more to the point. Instead of diving down the option paralysis route, it's just easier, and I just think that's the better way to be. Like, I know what I want out of this. Like I know what I want out of these guitars. I know what I want out of the Les Paul. I know what I want out of the Strat. I know what I want out of the hollow body and my acoustics, and I know what I want out of this amp and that amp and this amp and that amp and this wah-wah pedal, and I know what I want out of that, because I don't like playing around with stuff. It drives me potty. I like to be able to just kind of like go da 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 and play. I don't like the idea, and also when it comes down to speccing things, it's like, well, I like 60 style Strats and I like 50 style Strats, but I don't like V-necks, and I like the vintage style 6105 frets. I like single coil pickups. I like body contours. And I know what I want out of something. You know what I mean? And I think that's really key, and I think that's really important for any musician, is to know exactly what you want. It's all fun and games, playing around with things and seeing what you can do. But I've never been really one for the tweaking thing. It's why the Helix didn't work for me, because the Helix requires you to tweak a lot. And it never really worked for me. I didn't really like the idea. I didn't like it because of that. It used to drive me potty. Well, it did for about a month. It was getting on my nerves. And because I knew what I wanted, but to get what I wanted required me to really get far. There was far too much tweaking involved to get what I wanted. Whereas with like the Fender Stage or this Vox or this Harley Benton or the Marshall MG or even this the Zoom pedal here or the Katana or any CR120 or whatever, I could just, I want this, done. Like I said, I mean, the thing is, the settings on most of these amps haven't changed since I got them. The Katanas have never changed. My MG has never changed. The Fender Stage, the settings I'm using on the Fender Stage here are the settings I used to use on my other one. They're exactly the same settings, because I remember them. And I don't change them. Once I know what my settings are, I don't mess with them. It's that Tom Morello thing. Tom Morello said a long time ago, you stop tone chasing and just go, this is my sound, I'm going to do what I can with this. And I think that's a really good thing, because then you focus more on making music with that sound instead of going, oh, but I could just get it a little bit better, or I could just get this a little bit better. It's like, no, you can't, because you'll just end up going, okay, it's good, but it's not that good. And then 80 years down the line, you're still there, and I don't think that's a really good thing. It's not conducive to being a musician, I think. I reckon it's a good idea to kind of get a sound that you kind of go, I like that, and then just, that's your sound. You know what I mean? And then, that is what you are, kind of, so to say. And the same thing with guitars is, I totally agree. You need to experience as many guitars as humanly possible. Try everything at every level, from super, super cheap to super, super expensive. and get your own tastes and know what you like and what you dislike. For instance, like, you know, like what fretboard radius do you know, if you have a preference on fretboard radius, what fret neck material, what body material, blah 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 blah, you know, that lot. You know, what wire do you like, what pickups do you like, you know, overwound pickups, underwound pickups, you know, active pickups. You know, you need to try everything to get to know what you want, and in so doing, when you get a guitar built from somebody like Nick, for instance, if you give them a really good, you know, idea and good spec of what you want, sorry, everyone, you know, they'll be able to build it. They'll be able to build it because, you know, especially, you know, people like Nick, because they're just masters of what they do. They're brilliant. You know, there's a reason I call him Master Nick. You know, they're brilliant at what they do. So I don't, when trying a guitar blind from Nick, I know I'll love it because I thought I put that on silent. I know I'll love it because it's my spec. How can I not connect with it, if that makes any sense? And the same thing with kind of with certain amps and pedals that I get. It's like, you know, I know I'll love it before I try it. And the thing is, I know what I don't like within 5 seconds of picking up a guitar, playing through an amp or playing through a pedal. I'll know if I like it or not, because I know what I want out of it. If it's a chorus pedal, I know what I want. If it's a distortion pedal, I know what I want. If it's a Strat style guitar, I know what I want. If it's a Les Paul, I know what I want. You know, so I reckon it's really important to kind of know, like I say, what you want. And I think that question is so important to musicians. It's like, you know, what do you want? Because it just cuts down on so much faffing around. And, you know, you want to be playing. You don't want to be tweaking. You know, at the end of the day, you want to be playing music, not tweaking gear. In my opinion, I don't like the whole tweaking gear thing because I personally feel it's what's the word? It kind of has a negative impact on your ability to make music, because you're constantly like, oh, that sound isn't quite right, oh, this sound, you know what I mean? It's just do what you can with what you've got, kind of thing. Yeah, and you know, everything should be all right. And again, it just gives you the ability to focus more on the music instead of kind of focusing on, like, you know, a particular thing. If you've got your tones set and you like it and you know what it is, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You know, you just put it at your mind, and all you have to focus on is making music and performing, which is key. So, you know, like I say, a example of that, like I say, the settings on my Marshall MG have not changed since the day I got it in 2004. 2005, because I got it in 2004, but it took me till 2005 to switch to the overdrive channel, because I was initially using the clean channel, but then I switched to the overdrive channel one day and found out I loved it more, and then I never changed. So from 2005 onwards, my EQ has never ever dwindled from the MG. The only thing that changes MG to MG is the gain dial on the overdrive channel, because all Marshall MG's gain stages are different. So that MG up there is different to my number 1 MG and my number 3 MG and so on and so forth. And every MG I've plugged into, the gain stage is different. So you have to find the sweet spot on the gain, but that's really easy to do. It's normally anywhere between 0.5, 1 or 2, and that's it. If it's the old ones, it's normally around 1 or 2. If it's the newer ones, like the one up there, which you can't see because I've just realised it's off camera, they're normally around really low, because there was more gain in like the two. The one up there is from 2007, and there was more gain in them. Anyway, I'm going to have to move on. So yeah. I hope some of that made sense, but I'm going to run out of time if I keep talking. So I'm going to have to calm down, because I've got another 2 questions. Well, technically 3 questions to answer yet. So the last part of question 2 is, what's my thoughts on the S1 switch for a Strat? Personally, I don't like it. Again, I don't even like the 5-way switch on a Strat. I like 3-way switches. I don't like position 2 and 4. So adding another switch is just giving me more option paralysis. I don't like that. So again, I know what I want out of a Stratocaster, and I don't need to be messing around with it. And I don't like the S1. I don't like the other sounds. I've tried a few Strats with the S1. We had a few in Old Hat. And I never liked it. I just didn't like the other sounds it gave. It just didn't appeal to me whatsoever. So, yeah, not really for me. But, you know, if other people like it, cool. But for me personally, I really didn't get on with it at all. Like I say, I mean, I don't. I like. In all fairness, if it was up to me, I'd probably kind of like go to Richie Blackmore route and just have two single coil pickups, the neck and the bridge, and have like have a three-way selector just between the two, or even just a two-way selector. Just neck or bridge, because I use one or the other. I use the middle pickup every now and again, but I use either neck or bridge, and that's what I use. So yeah, I mean, so the idea of having more switching on a Strat, it doesn't really appeal to me. I don't really feel I need it. And again, I don't want option paralysis. I'm too simple-minded for too many options. Anyway, I'm not clever enough to function on that level. So yeah, but I don't really like the S1 switch. But if you like it, go for it. And again, that comes down to it. What do you want? What do you want? That is the key. You always have to ask yourself when getting any new bit of gear, what do you want, and what do you want out of it? And go from there, really. So I'm going to move on because I'm going to run out of time. So question 3 is, did you remove the tremolo from the hartwood, and was it a difficult job? Yes, I did. I haven't spoke about this yet, but yes. I did remove the Bigsby. It wasn't working. I've decided me and Bigsby's dusty guitar. Me and Bigsby's do not like each other. I really like Bigsby's, but they just don't work for me. So, and I was just constantly sending this one out of tune, and it was driving me balmy. And as much as I love the shimmer of a Bigsby, which is what I really wanted this Bigsby for, it wasn't worth the aggro of. I really hit guitars maybe a bit too hard sometimes, especially when you get kind of carried away in the heat of the moment, so to say. But I find the stop tail is better for me. So I just unscrewed it, took it off, and put this one in. So was it a difficult job to put this on? No. I did it in about, I think it took about an hour, if that, to do it. So it was just a simple case of, you probably see it's got the snake bite now. Two there and then two up here. So was it an easy job? Yeah, dead easy. Undo the obviously took the strings off. Undo the 4 screws, take the Bigsby off, drill 2. Obviously, make sure you measure the. And I'll talk about something else in a sec. Obviously, measure and get the string alignment right of the stop tail, so it passes over the bridge straight. And then just basically drill the 2 holes, put in the ferrules, and then screw it in, and away you go. And this thing doesn't go out of tune now. Actually, come to forget, I don't remember the last time I tuned this. I love this guitar so much, it's so amazing. So, yeah, dead easy job. What I did though, and I would recommend this, and I nicked the idea from Rick Beato and also my Epiphone Les Paul, is I mounted the stop tail further back than usual. Normally, they're about here, which gives a really severe break angle, and usually that can be kind of, it's not particularly great for tuning stability, which is normally the Revelation's got it and the Lemon Drop's got it. And what I do is I bring up the tailpiece, so instead of a break angle being like that out of the tailpiece onto the bridge, you bring up that tailpiece, and it just kind of like, it lessens the break angle, and I think it definitely increases tuning stability on a stop tail. Like, Tunematic style bridge. But what I did is, my Epiphone Les Paul, the tailpiece on the Epiphone Les Paul is really far, it's a lot further back than it should be. And as a result, I've never had any tuning issues with my Epiphone Les Paul. It's always been really stable. But it's the only Les Paul I've ever seen really with that tailpiece put back. So it was obviously something that happened in the factory. Because, I say, the Revelation and the Lemon Drop aren't like that. So what I did is I took the measurements off my Epiphone of where it sits and cloned it. So and put it back the same distance as it was on my Epiphone. So there's the break angle is really, it's quite shallow. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but it's really quite shallow. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that. Sorry, I do apologise. But it's a really kind of like, it's a nice angle, and as a result, it just creates just a lot more tuning stability, which is nice, especially on a Tune-o-matic where you kind of you can have the G string slipping problem and all that kind of thing. This guitar's really nice, but yeah, so yeah, easy job. But like I say, if you're going to do it, I would recommend moving the actual stop piece further back, and again nicked it from Rick Beato as well because he's got an old SG, and the actual tailpiece is somewhere like here, so the string length is really long, so the break angle's really shallow. It's not steep in any way, shape or form, and again, just aids in tuning stability. And I say my Epiphone Les Paul, you barely have to tune that thing. Even with the 7s on it, the Billy Gibbons 7s on it, it's so stable. Whereas I get the tuning issues, the slipping, and the usual tuning issues with Tune-o-matic bridges with the Lemon Drop and the Revelation. I don't get that with this, and I don't get that with Epiphone. But yeah, so I'd recommend that. Always have this further back than too far forward. You want the break angle to be quite, wants to be a nice break angle, because the shallower, the better, but not too shallow, because if you get it too shallow, the strings can pop out the grooves on the bridge. So you'd have to kind of experiment, but that's where I've got mine. So hopefully you can kind of see. It's not as close, and as a result, I say just the tuning stability is unreal. I say as soon as I got this on, as soon as I did this and restrung it back up and tuned it up, it just behaved so much more, and I was just like, oh! And I gave the Bigsby off this to my uncle, who's always wanted one. He's got an Epiphone Dot, and I gave it to him to use. So he's got the Bigsby off that. So easy job, really easy job. It should take under an hour. It's really easy as long as you kind of Oh, another thing as well is when you drill the holes into a body, masking tape off around where you're going to drill the holes so you don't break the lacquer. It'll just and also going up incrementally in drill size as well to the actual size. I think it's is it 9 or 10 millimeter for us? I can't remember, but going up in increments is the best thing. So you make a really small pilot hole and then go to to 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And just gradually build up the hole. And I say if you use masking tape every time, you won't get any kind of tear out or it shouldn't break the lacquer. You know what I mean? It should just make a nice neat hole. So yeah, easy job, very easy job. And if you're having trouble with a Bigsby guitar, definitely recommend it. I just wish I'd done that to the Gold Top Gretsch I had, because I would still have that guitar if I did, and I'm an idiot, and I didn't do it, and I missed that guitar, and that's my own stupid fault. Silly Dave! Okay, so I hope this is a question. Moving on to final question of the day, question 4. Okay, so question 4 is there a guitar pedal that you used to like, but don't anymore? And also, is there a guitar pedal you used to dislike, but like now? Is there a guitar pedal I used to dislike, but like now? No. Not that I can think of. But there is a pedal I used to love, and now will never use again, and that's the Tube Screamer. I found out... I don't remember when. I found out Rory Gallagher used the Tube Screamer, and... I was like, oh, really want to try Tube Screamer. So I don't remember when this would have been. It was years and years ago. So I got the TS-808 reissue, and because that was the one Rory used, apparently. Although I think Rory did use the TS-9 as well. But anyway, when I got the Tube Screamer, I was like, that's so good. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. And for years and years and years, I used the Tube Screamer for my dirty clean John Frusciante tone. Well, actually, I tell a lie. First off, I was just using the MG clean, and then I discovered in 2007, yes, in 2007, that if I left it on, it gave me more of a John Frusciante tone. That was when I realised that John's tone is a lot more distorted than it appears. It's dirty, it's a dirty clean. It's not a clean clean, and that was when I discovered that, because I was doing a gig with the trio, and I've still got the recording. I've got the EP. We did like a live EP, and it's horrifically funny. But we did a jam at the end of the gig. Me, my brother on bass, and my friend Phil. We just jammed for about 15 minutes after the last song we played, and I noticed that I forgot to turn the tube screamer off to get back to my clean tone, and when I listened back to it, I was like, oh, that sounds loads more like John Frusciante. But I was like, that sounded way more distorted than I thought it was, but it isn't. John's tone is more distorted than you think. So it was a very kind of, it was an eye-opening moment. But then I found the DS2 didn't like it, and also certain other pedals that I tried to run, fuzz pedals for instance, didn't like the tube screamer because of its mid-hump and stuff like that. But I kept using the tube screamer. I just found ways around it. If I wanted to use a fuzz, I would just use the fuzz with the governor and turn the tube screamer off. And if I wanted to use the DS2, I would use the DS2 with the governor, and I would just again turn the tube screamer off. But then I found the Tone City Golden Plexi. I remember so clearly watching a video at Anderton's with demoing them, and it was Rob and Lee were demoing them. And it was one of the only times that I've watched a product demo and gone, I need one of them. As soon as Rob started playing through that Golden Plexi, I was like, I want that. And literally, I think it was the next day, if not a day after that or whatever, I ordered one straight away and I got it. And to this day, that is one of my favourite pedals of all time, the Golden Plexi. I absolutely adore it. And when I realised that putting the gain all the way down near enough, putting the tone all the way down, putting the volume at 12 o'clock, and getting that John Frusciante dirty clean tone, and then running the DS2 into it, and everything just went, oh, just amazing. I was like, that is so cool. And then I put the tube screamer away. The tube screamer came off the board. The Golden Plexi went on. It's still there, and the tube screamer never came out again. And I eventually sold it. I just didn't need it. And tube screamers are one of those pedals that I have tried again and gone no. So tube screamers for me are a no anymore. I just don't like them. I used to love mine. I used to love it, but as soon as the Golden Plexi came along, and then obviously the Jackhammer came along as well, I was just like, nope, the tube screamer's got no place for me anymore, sadly. So it went, and I wouldn't buy another one. I don't really like the tube screamer mid hump anymore. I find them clunky. There's just something in a tube screamer that really, it's just fallen out of favour with me. Tube screamer. Another one that I used to like and love and then didn't is my Crybaby wah wah pedal, which I've still got, and I'll never get rid of my Crybaby because it was my first ever proper wah wah pedal, and I remember saving up for. It must have been a good month and a bit to save up for this wah wah pedal. It was 40 quid. My Crybaby was 40 quid, and I used that until this came along, Mr. Silvertop, because I was using the Crybaby for ages, and then it was the Isle of Wight DVD of Jimi Hendrix, and you get a really good close-up of Jimmy's wah-wah pedal, and I noticed he's using a Silvertop Vox wah-wah. So I started looking into the Vox Silvertop, and eventually, again, saved up for this, and then bought it, and then this arrived, and I was literally like, you are so much better than the Crybaby. And as a result, every Crybaby I've played through since I got this, and then obviously the Ibanez Wah, I've just not liked. I don't like Crybabies at all. They really do not do anything for me wah pedal wise. They are my least favourite wah wah pedal I've tried. I mean, this is my favourite. This is my favourite wah wah pedal of all time, the Vox Silvertop. And again, you can simulate the Ibanez Wah with this thing. It does the Jimi Hendrix thing. It does the John Frusciante thing. I think this almost does, it does everything. I love this wah pedal so much. It's just, to me, again, in my opinion, the best wah wah pedal there is. So it's the, finally get it, everybody. There you go. It's the V847. But again, I call it the Silvertop because it's chrome top, Silvertop, whatever. It is that thing. But this is my favourite wah wah pedal of all time, and this is one I've had for ages. It's funny that I don't. This is still my favourite, even though I use the Ibanez wah these days. I use this is down here because I like plugging it into amps, just like as it is. Well, it's down here because I was testing it through the Guitarna with the K switch, like as a live cell, and it works. But yeah, I mean it's funny. I definitely I'm using the Ibanez all the time more than the Vox, but the Vox will be forever my favorite. This wah pedal here will be forever my favorite wah pedal. It's just at this point in time, I'm in WH10 mode, because I like. There's just something in the WH10 that's led me there right now. In a week or a day or a year or an hour or 2 years, I'll probably switch back. You know what I mean? But at this point in time, I'm following what I feel, and that's leading me to the Ibanez at this point in time. I need to stick there at this point in time because that's where I feel I need to be. If that makes any sense. Again, just submitting to the gods of music. They want me to use the Ibanez right now. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to go, but this is my favourite. Why can't I use it? I'm just going to go with what they recommend. And, they know better than I do. So yeah, just give it up to the gods of music. They know better than I do. So just submitting. But it will come back around. This will end up on my board again. I have no doubt. It's just, it doesn't need to be there right now. It can take a retirement. But saying that, this was the wah pedal I was using for Dukes all last year and the year before that. This is the wah pedal I was using for Dukes Deluder. I didn't use the Ibanez at all. I'm pretty sure on the Dukes Deluder's first album, this is the wah pedal as well. Anyway, and again, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend the Vox Silvertop enough. I really can't. But yeah, so is the pedals I used to like and dislike. Yeah, the Crybaby and the Tube Scream are definitely one of them. Other than that, I can't think of any that I've got that I like. Because the thing is, if I wasn't so attached emotionally to the Crybaby, I would have sold it. But because it's my first ever wah-wah and I really saved up, and the reason I wanted it because I heard Slash uses a Crybaby, and I've got so many gigs on that wah-wah pedal, and I've done a lot with it. You know what I mean? We've been through a lot, me and that pedal. So I've got a lot of emotional attachment to it. It would just feel wrong to sell it. I mean, I had a lot of emotional attachment to my Tube Screamer, but not as much. The Tube Screamer, we did a lot of gigs together, but I know for a fact at some point I will need the Crybaby wah sound. I know I will need that sound for recording at some point. The Tube Screamer sound, I don't need. I just don't need it, and I don't even like it anymore. It's bizarre. I've tried the TS9, the TS808, and the TS10. I've tried them all, and I just don't like the mid hump anymore. And I was talking to my friend Ian about it, and he's the same, not a fan of Tube Screamers, and yeah, we both same conclusion. It's the mid hump in it. I think it's because I use mid focused amps as well. I use Marshalls and Oranges, and the Boss Guitarna I've got mid focused, and I like that mid range sound. So the Tube Screamer can't add anything. It just becomes nothing. It doesn't really do anything. You know what I mean? So whereas the Golden Plexi and the Jackhammer really do something. Anyway, but yeah, people of a tube. I put this question to you though: is there a pedal you used to like but don't like anymore? And also, is there a pedal you used to dislike and like now? Let us know in the comment section below. So I'm gonna have to go, everybody, because I'm running out of time. I'm running out of battery as well. So yeah, I hope I've answered questions okay, everybody. I hope this Q&A has been okay. I hope it's been informative. I hope there hasn't been too much waffle and nonsense said. Like I say, Friday's vid is this thing, which I'm looking forward to showing you. If you want to submit a question for Q&A Wednesday, description box below has an email link. Anything else to say? No. But yeah, like I say, people with you, let me know. Is there a pedal that you used to like but dislike, and is there a pedal you disliked and now like? Let us know in the comment section below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I will see you again very soon for another one. Have a great morning, afternoon, and a good evening. And goodbye now. Thank you much for watching.